Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to episode 10 of our Kentum playthrough. I am reading all your guys' comments and I'm taking what you say to heart. What I'm trying to do now is, if there's a lull in the gameplay, and what I mean by that is, if all I'm gonna go do is go pick up items for crafting, go farming basically, I'm just gonna skip recording an episode about that. Obviously nobody wants to go see me go pick twigs, and I don't think it's very fun. But that being said, if I go farm out in a new zone like we do today, and I'll definitely record it, right? Because it's a new zone and there's new enemies and all that kind of stuff, like we did with the hive. And now we're gonna go see a new zone now that's opened up thanks to the fact that we have the hook shot. So there it is, right there. These enemies, the floating enemies, this is another variation of them. The one variation does an area around them. This variation shoots the lightning bolts right down. Turns out you can grab them. So I thought that was really cool. Makes it a lot easier to beat them because you just bring them down and whack on them, and then you go to the side. I realized later that I need to be killing those enemies because they drop a lot of the fiber that I need in order to expand my invisible fanny pack, as well as the bulk inventory stuff. So anyway, I pass it along to you. It's an easy way of using the grappling hook to kill those enemies. The other ones is a different story. The ones with the ring around them, don't do that. I tried that earlier and I died miserably. That's why I didn't record, or that's why you're not seeing all that stuff, because it's a point, right? Like, I get it. You guys do like to see gameplay and somebody, struggling just like you do, or maybe trying to figure things out like you are. But if I'm just going on and farming to an area you've already seen before, and I'm not really doing anything new, then yeah, I'm not going to record it. Instead, if I do something important during that time, I'll try to include it. I can edit it out and splice it into a video, right? It's not a problem. One of the things that this new area gives me is a recipe for that in a little pod that I grabbed. You guys saw that particular pod that was floating up in the air is extremely important. You might be going, what? Why? It doesn't tell you right now, but when you unlock the next step, I think it's the concentrator or something like that in the tree, you need that to make a certain component that becomes a big next step in your crafting tree. So start collecting them is all I'm saying. Start collecting them. Bitter mucilage. You can turn that into the next version of it, which is, I think, the cubed version of it. I forgot the name. But yeah, you're gonna need that. So it's really easy. All you have to do is just, instead of going down into the depths where the big boss monster is that whooped me a couple of times, you go up and using your hook. Here you unlock more base building stuff. I honestly don't. So actually, this is actually a good time for a conversation regarding around this. The team and I were talking yesterday about, well, you're watching this. If you're watching this, this is probably Saturday. So on Thursday, we were talking about the game itself and why sales have been poor. And I had already touched upon it a little bit earlier, but I think we went more in depth as it related to the gameplay. And I think I hit the nail on the head, and that's that the game appeals to a certain niche audience if the role is, really automation. A lot of players don't get that deep into the game where they're going to want to automate absolutely everything. Just because some folks find it tedious. Some folks don't. Alright? I'm not generalizing. But if you were to draw a diagram and represent the people who enjoy types of games who are very convoluted with automation, and you compare that to people who enjoy an adventure game, for example, of exploration, I would bet a lot of money, which is, my career, that the people who enjoy an adventure are probably it's a larger group than people who enjoy automation, right? So this game was kind of marketed as a craftervania game, where a lot of crafting and automation involved and base building and that kind of stuff. And that's why you're getting all these little trinkets along the way that you can do that for. But the reality of the situation is that most players don't find that appealing. What most players find appealing is adventure and exploration and discovering new things. And some of those new things can be in the form of automation, but automation in this game is forced upon you, right? Now think about that. Think about what that means. When you play a game that has automation in it, usually the automation is part of the game, right? Like it's a necessity to understand how it works in order for you to continue to progress throughout the game. In Kentum, that's not the case, because you don't need to automate in order to continue to play the game, right? You can do everything manually. But the reason I say it forces it upon you in a certain way.
Biological fuel tank nearly empty.
If you don't automate, then you're spending a large amount of your time in your base transferring items from one thing to the other. Planting, watering, the seeds, you water them, you have to be doing that constantly. But then you're going to have to continue to move things from one place to another, putting stuff in your storage box and repeating ad nauseum. And that's why I think I'm saying it forces it upon you, because, well, if you don't do it, God, you're not having fun. Unless you enjoy the tedious, repetitive task of grabbing one thing from one place, putting it in the other on repeat. I don't know, dude. So that's one of the things I think is wrong with the game, where that particular piece of it is not, it's not well fleshed out. Like, if you're going to make automation a part of something, then the automation needs to be simple enough that anybody can do it. And not only that, it has to create clear progression, because that's kind of the whole point of the game, right? Versus right here in Kentum, the point of the game is to go to the monolith and unlock all the stuff for the humanity thing. But if you've noticed, I've kind of stopped. Like, the story's done. There's no more story. The story is you fell to Earth. You have to go restart humanity, and that's it. That's your story. And so now, as I'm traversing through these new areas and I'm finding new stuff, there's no antagonist to my protagonist. There's no continuation of the story anymore. Like, maybe there is down the line and I just haven't gotten there yet. Maybe. But for example, what would happen if you find out that, Orb is evil? Or what would happen if you found out that the company really was responsible for the end of the Earth, for example? That would be interesting, right? It would make it cool, and maybe you're off trying to find secrets of the why the company did this, while you're looking, instead of scanning something and finding a pet rock. Like, why aren't you out trying to discover secrets of Tlön Industries and what happened at the end of the world? Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and that's kind of what we talked about on Thursday. And I thought I would bring it up here because I thought it was interesting. And I'm interested in what you guys think, right? Because you've been seeing me play the game, and I play the game in a different way than some other folks. I've seen online some people who have done crazy things with automation, but to me, automation's not. It's there to make my life easier, but it's not the reason why I'm playing the game. It's similar to how when I play Terraria, I don't care about. I make boxes. I make squares for my people to live in, and that's it. The real purpose for me in Terraria is to go out and explore and progress throughout the game, fight the bosses, and get to the Moon Lord and defeat it. Like, that's my goal when I play Terraria, not to make the prettiest base possible or that kind of stuff. So it might be just a difference in the way people play the game. It's the same with Fallout 76. Actually, that's not true. So I also play a lot of Fallout 76. I have like around 1,500 hours in it. The story I enjoyed immensely. I still enjoy it when I do get to play it, but I've stopped playing it because the combat got boring. Right? It's really easy, and I used to be able to. Oh man, I'm fighting a mutant behemoth. I'm gonna get my butt kicked. Now it's like, well, it doesn't really matter because I can kill it from a kilometer away with a shot. So, you know, the combat got boring for me in Fallout 76, but I still play it every time a new storyline releases because I enjoy the stories of Fallout. I enjoy the universe of Fallout. So here in Kentum, I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with finding what I'm enjoying, right? And if I were to put a name on it or try to really pinpoint it, it's the exploration. That's what I'm enjoying. Unlocking new areas, seeing the new things, new enemies, new things I have to craft, that kind of stuff. That to me is enjoyable in this game. The combat, not as enjoyable. I think it's frustrating at times, especially when you go in the jungle area. It's very frustrating. The electrical creatures, I think that's my fault. I don't think it's the electrical creatures' fault, but I do wish there was some way to not attack them easier, but you know, each enemy should have its own little way of defeating it. Maybe there is, and I just haven't figured it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to chuck lizards at the floating electrical thingies. Actually, I'm gonna try that next time. Maybe that's the way you're supposed to do it. I don't know. But yeah, the good news is that I've kind of moved on to the next step of the crafting tree. Huzzah. Which is making cognitive fluid type B now in the game. That's my next funnel. But as I mentioned earlier, there's now more funnels. My funnel is yeast, and my funnel is the barley to make the cognitive fluid type B, and now my funnel is uranium, and my funnel is still wood, because I have to make wood into charcoal in order to make the uranium ingots, which is necessary to make the sheets. So, you know, I did warn you, and it continues to be the same thing where that's still my gateway. Now the problem becomes that when I was making type 2 fluid type A, it was easy because it was just gated by those berries or cherries or whatever the heck they are. But type B, so all I had to do was make enough berries to go get the coffee grounds, and then turn that into A. Easy, super easy, very linear. But cognitive fluid type B is not that easy, because you have to turn 2 ingredients into yeast, right? So after getting those 2 ingredients into yeast, then you have to combine that with another 2 more ingredients in the cognitive fluid type B. So you're getting to the point where you're gonna have to have a bigger farm in order to be able to grab all these ingredients to make your cognitive fluid type B. So it becomes a big funnel. It's a choke point, if you want to treat it that way, where you're like, okay, well now, crap, I just got done making a bunch of cognitive fluid type A. The tedious process. You guys didn't see because it's not part of the video. I literally spent like 40 minutes just back and forthing, creating a bunch of cognitive fluid type A to be able to unlock things. So it's a thing. And it goes back once again to the whole concept of, well, is it fun? Right? You know, it all comes back down to that. And if I don't automate it, then no, it's not fun. But then I don't want to spend my time collecting all the materials necessary, because it does take a bunch of materials to automate things, because you have to create everything. Then you have to figure out how to place it. And you can't move things easily in the game if they need somewhere to sit, and then you need to be able to build scaffoldings for them. And again, I'm not harping on the game. I like the game, but I think it has flaws. I think it has flaws, and I wish those things would eventually get addressed by the devs. We've let them know, so hopefully they come up with different ways of making things easier for everybody. But, enough harping on Kentum. I think that I've covered my points really well, and I don't need to revisit them every single time that we have a conversation. The other thing that happened that's interesting is that I'm getting good at figuring out how to battle with the claw. You saw a little earlier while I was talking. I grabbed the bird, slammed it to the ground, and grabbed the fruit, hit the bird with it, grabbed another fruit, hit the bird, slammed the bird into the ground. Those kinds of sequences are important. It makes the game's combat flow a lot smoother. So I think that's a big piece of it too. Now, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to get good at learning how to block. Is my next thing. I think I unlocked it already, or if I didn't, I'm going to. I have so much cognitive fluid type A that I didn't know what to do with it, so I'm like, I might as well do that. Because I think that in the jungle, learning how to block becomes extremely important. Because everything that touches you poisons you. So you don't want that. You don't want to get poisoned. But all those attacks are physical attacks and not electrical attacks. So now you can block. You can block those with your shield. You can't block them. You can block electrical attacks, but you can block physical ones. Now, I would suggest that if you guys have a lot of questions about the game, you can ask me in the comments, and I'll read them and happy to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I can ask the devs and they can reply. You can also just join the Discord, the Kentum Discord. The devs are pretty active on there, and you can actually see that they're already planning some changes to the game and updates. That's par for the course, right? Like, you release a game and you release it with an idea, and then, especially an indie game, like this game was made by a small studio. It's not their first game, but it's a small studio, so the budgets are not gigantic. It's not like you can just, let's make a huge Clair Obscur, what people are calling indie game, but dude, it's not an indie game. Clair Obscur took years to make and millions of dollars, so it's not an indie game by definition. It's more like a AA title. It's a great game. I absolutely enjoyed the crap out of it. If you haven't played it, I would suggest you play it. Funnily enough, I haven't gotten past like the first part of the game. Not the first part, no spoilers, but there's a city part and then an open world part. I started playing the open world part, but the game allows you to save, and then when you save, all the enemies reappear. And so I was that guy in Final Fantasy VII that farmed the area in Junon, where you could continuously farm Shinra soldiers and type A's that were weak to lightning attacks. Yeah, I was that guy that got massively overleveled in the early game and just breezed through the gameplay. But I think that's part of it. I personally think JRPGs that's what they're for. If you want to overlevel, you want to spend the time to level your character up to the point where you're overpowered in the beginning to make your early game easier, then you should be. That's the way the game is made, right? So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on why why Kentum is. They're making good changes. Go to the Discord. You can ask questions, and I think better things are coming for the game. More clarity is coming to the game. So what am I going to suggest for you guys? Once you get past a certain point in the game, it's inevitable that you're going to have to go farm in the open world if you don't want to make a farm yourself. Up to you, but I felt that once I got to this point that you see on the screen now, where I have a row of twigs, it sounds so funny to say, like a row of twigs, where that's allowing me to collect enough wood for charcoal, and have my berries. Once I have finished my cognitive type A fluid making process, like I have enough, then what you would want to do is you would want to get rid of those berries that you have, those farm plots, remove the berries from them and plant the next item that you need for your cognitive fluid type B, because that requires your next step. I think that's the best balance, but this was what I was working towards next. This is for making the sheet, and it unlocks storage. See, that's the problem. I didn't know, or I had forgotten, that it unlocked storage. Right? It doesn't tell me anywhere in the game that this is what I am unlocking when I unlock this next part of the tree. And I told the devs, I felt that that's something that's extremely necessary. I need to know what I'm going to unlock once I reach the next step. I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to say, oh shit, storage, right? No, I want to say, oh man, that's what I want. I want to go work towards storage. I want to work towards this. I want to work towards, in the monolith, this is what it's going to give me if I unlock this particular thing. Like, that's what I want. I want to know what I'm working towards. Otherwise, it's just mindless work, which is not fun. And the new storage actually is really impactful. It gives you a ton of storage compared to the wooden boxes. So that's one thing. The problem is you cannot get rid of the wooden boxes until they're empty. So I was kind of like, okay, well, what do I do? So then you need to kind of move stuff around or shift things over to the good storage, and then from there you kind of go, okay, well, now that I have the proper storage in place, what am I going to be storing where? And you have to organize yourself and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. That's part of the game. I like doing that. I do that in Terraria. I organize everything in multiple chests, and I know where everything is. The difference is that in Terraria you have quick store, which is you can just hit a button and all the stuff that's in your inventory automatically goes to the chests. Mirthwood has that too, and I feel that in games that have crafting you kind of need that, and it's unfortunate that hasn't been implemented in Kentum. We requested it because I think it's important. Items should just fly off my inventory and go into the proper areas, definitely. Yeah, I guess you don't want to see this gameplay, but it's just me kind of organizing myself a little bit, where I'm trying to make sure that I don't have far to travel when I have things to do and things to make. Because, again, if I don't want to automate, then I'm doing all this manually, and it's tedious. And so because we said we weren't going to be doing this, where I'm just showing you me going back and forth, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. Really all I did was go back and forth between getting the machines ready, making more cognitive fluid, back and forth. So I'm going to fade out and come back with you when I unlock the next step of the crafting tree and talk about that a little bit. The next step of the crafting tree unlocked was cooking. So I want to get the concentrates. That's the next big one I want to go after. But I had enough for cooking, and I said, well, let's do cooking first, and let's get the workbench done. And so the workbench and cooking are my next two steps that I can unlock, and then that particular one. So the workbench actually unlocks the drill, which I can go use to deposit a drill somewhere, and it'll start collecting materials for me, and then I come back and I can pick up the materials, which is really helpful. And it's going to help me a ton with collecting enough plastic and uranium and silica for the next process in clay. So yeah, that's a big one to get. I just didn't need it yet because it's further along in the crafting tree, so I hadn't bothered to grab it. You don't need as much of those mineable materials right now as you do later on in the game. So yeah, that's the next part. And then I have still all these things I need to do. So in the next episode, I think we go and we're going to unlock bulk inventory, and we're going to unlock our fanny pack, and we're going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff, the biological room, because I already made the press. So I can start making those geranium sheets, which is my other funnel. So yeah, we're moving along. I'll skip ahead any crafting stuff, like I said in the prior videos, and I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I'll see you on the next one.